I'm Laura, fertility coach and holistic therapist, founder of Fertility Avenue, providing emotional, physical, and well-being support to women who are having a difficult fertility journey. Welcome to today's episode, where I'm thrilled to be joined by someone whose work I deeply respect and admire, Ilana Garsin, an acupuncturist. Ilana treats clients for a wide range of issues, but she has a particular passion and expertise with supporting fertility and reproductive health. Welcome to today's podcast, Ilana. So pleased to have you as a guest.
Hi, Laura.
Hello.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. This
Oh,
is
my pleasure. I'm so
great.
pleased you could join. This is going to be a great conversation. I can feel it's going to really benefit our listeners who are out there listening to this podcast. So I'm sure it's a general question that you often get asked, but just generally, what is acupuncture and how does it work? And then we'll go possibly into the more specifics about how it actually supports fertility. But just if you can just explain to our listeners who may have some misconceptions or not necessarily a full understanding of what acupuncture is, that would be great.
Yeah, great. So it's acupuncture is actually over 2,000 years old. It was developed in China. And actually, they say that the first acupuncturists were actually blind. And that's how they got this. They had obviously enhanced sense with their fingertips, and that's how they found the points. This is,
Wow.
yeah,
Gosh, didn't know
very
that one.
fun. I know. So it's very, very, very fine needles, almost as thin as a human hair. And they go in different parts of the body. It can be legs, arms, abdomen, on your face, even ears. I do auricular acupuncture as well. And it basically is used to restore and balance your health and relieve any symptoms you have. And most people find it very relaxing, and some even fall asleep.
Absolutely.
Feeling
So the
so
needles are
well.
so fine that even if you had a phobia of needles as such, it's not like an injection in all different parts of your body.
Oh God, no. I mean,
No.
I do actually help. I've had patients come to me who want to get over their fear of needles as an injections, or they know they've got some I don't know, some operation in the near future, and they want to acclimatize themselves to needles. So I've
Oh,
often
brilliant.
that.
So
And they've got complete control over the needles. If anything's uncomfortable, I just remove it. So
absolutely. Oh,
yeah.
that's brilliant. I love that. Getting over a fear of something by having it actually done on you is
Yeah.
possibly the best way. Fantastic. And then so you say it's the needles, these very fine hair-like needles go into the nerve endings at different parts of the body. Does it depend on what areas you're addressing, what issues you're addressing, where you put those needles, or do you put it everywhere to balance the energy, and how does it work?
Well, I did a degree for 3-year degree, and the way that it differs from someone who does, say, medical acupuncture, dry needling as they call it, they've done like a weekend course. So they just put localized points. So if you had a sore arm, they just put in the arm.
Right.
For me, I do the holistic view of the whole body. So if someone had, I don't know, say sinusitis, so I might put some needles around their nose or even like the back of their neck. But it also balanced the organ, the Chinese medicine organ
Right. Yeah.
that was creating all the fluid, um, which would be like the spleen. And so I'd try and relieve the damp in the body, and also I'd tonify the body using other points, which could be in the legs or in the arms.
Because often
So
the cause of issues don't necessarily start with where that issue or that pain is, does it? It often comes from another area that's
that's
kind of
right.
having yeah. So it's important,
So
I guess, to make sure you start. Yeah.
So it's basically addressing any imbalance. So if something is excessive, like I don't know, with hot sweats, so it's excessive heat, you'd work to reduce the heat in the body. If someone had, a foggy head, you'd address like the damp in the head. So you go to the
Right.
points in the leg to address that.
So it's really
Um,
specific.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
specific.
So last week's podcast, we looked at reflexology. So it sounds, again, working on specific points. It's just another holistic way, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so
Brilliant.
just to see it, you're using the whole body, obviously.
Exactly, exactly. And that word, bringing your body into balance, is such a key word and key important thing to be doing on somebody, regardless of the issue, because if the body's not in balance, it's going to set other areas off and cause
exactly.
those
And it
issues.
also brings in, the mental health, that's also part of the picture. That can be causing symptoms of the body, like
Absolutely.
tightness of the chest or palpitations, or affecting your sleep, or, affecting your periods.
It affects huge
Ability.
mental,
Yeah,
yes, and as you say, the stress as well. As we know, it has a huge knock-on effect to other areas and can lead to other issues. That's amazing. So,
exactly.
what made you specialize in acupuncture, or what led you to doing this? What was your passion?
Well, my first degree was actually molecular biology,
Right,
um, and I didn't really want to do lab work, so I was kind of trying to find something to do related. So I worked in marketing to do medical websites, and then I thought, I know I really want to do something therapeutic. I really want to help people. I got glandular fever in my late 20s, and a friend recommended an acupuncturist. So I
right.
went to him for, my tiredness and just to get over this virus. And he started like helping me for things like hay fever and various other things that relaxation, de-stress, stomach issues, and
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. Like I'd spent years taking antihistamine, and then I didn't need to take them anymore. It was
Conventional medical, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So you went
So
into
I
the more holistic support. So you got a medical background and understanding, which,
yeah,
and then also due to your own issues and problems, you then went, wow, that's amazing. That's a great route to the your
yeah,
profession now.
amazing, yeah,
Brilliant. And for our listeners today who perhaps are a little bit more interested in specifically fertility,
yeah.
so how does acupuncture support fertility, perhaps from both a traditional and Chinese medicine perspective and a modern scientific one, even?
Yeah. Okay, so that's a good point, working on both the modern scientific side and also the kind of Chinese acupuncture side. So I basically trained with someone called Nava Carmen, and received this gold kind of accredited certificate, a gold standard certificate in something called fertility support acupuncture,
Right.
which it basically follows through from trying to conceive, addressing any issues you've got with conception, working out what tests you might need, and then working with natural conception through the pregnancy or helping with IVF, and then through the actual up to basically
Birth.
delivery.
Yeah.
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 So the specific things it helps with, I mean, it basically initially what you'd want to do is come, if possible, 3 to 4 cycles before you want to try and conceive.
I was going to say
And-
when would be the good starts?
yeah,
Yeah.
because we want to prepare
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
baby, prepare the body,
Body.
Freudian slip, prepare the body for conception. So the key thing to start with is, are you ovulating?
Mhm.
How is your period? So we'd work on improving the period. Now, acupuncture supports the blood flow to the organs, so like the
Right.
uterus and the eggs. So it obviously has a positive effect on ovulation. Also, it affects the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, and ovarian
Yeah.
axis. So that helps to make sure that the hormones are balanced. It reduces stress, which is obviously a big thing that
Yes.
can
Yeah.
conception, and addresses any kind of issues. So I work to find out if someone comes to me, they've got unexplained fertility. I work to find out what have they not been tested for. It can be quite a lazy term, unexplained infertility.
Yes, yes. And there's often an explanation for something, but maybe unexplained is when the medical science, the doctors can't find their scientific explanation, but actually there's a lot more going on that
Exactly.
needs to be explored.
Yeah. Or
So,
they just want to, they refer you to the IVF clinic. The IVF clinic isn't a fertility clinic, it's an IVF clinic. They want you to do IVF.
yes, yeah,
So I can recommend like the right consultant to go to. We can check, have you ticked all the boxes? Have you checked your thyroid antibodies? Have you looked at your vaginal microbiome? Have you looked at your immune system, your NK cells?
you do
Um,
a thorough overview of
yeah,
all, no,
exactly.
but so no boxes unticked when they come to you.
I mean, some people come, they haven't even had their fallopian tubes checked to see if they are clear or not. They
And is
just
that something you can do through the acupuncture, or how do you understand that?
So, well, I will refer them to someone that I work very closely with,
Right,
like, an ultrasound specialist
right,
who solely works on kind of gynecology
right, amazing.
himself. So he knows exactly what he's looking at, and he's worked with all the big companies actually producing the ultrasound machines. So I would send to him. Also, well, with blockage, it can be due to damp. So I would work on encouraging the blood flow to
Yeah.
the tubes to get, things flushed through. I'd reduce the damp in the system. I give lifestyle advice on how you can reduce the damp or how to use castor oil packs. It's all about all different, coming at it all different sides.
Angles,
But not
absolutely.
just the acupuncture, it's the lifestyle advice that I offer. It's the consultants I tell them to maybe go to, or the questions I'd ask, get them to ask their IVF clinic. It's basically, as I say, picking up where the
Where the
failing,
gaps are.
yeah, of the NHS, of the clinics,
Hmm.
yeah,
So
things like
you add
urology.
in some extra medical
That's right.
guidance and advice and support. And what's really lovely is that you work with certain professionals at certain, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
clinics, etc., etc. So you can have that joined up approach, so that you're not working in isolation necessarily, but you can find the results and then actually treat your client accordingly.
Yeah, and also to say this is all supported with acupuncture. It's a very stressful time, as we know, trying to get pregnant.
Yes, yeah.
So support them emotionally and also support them with any medical issues that they have that we can treat with acupuncture. So it
Oh,
can
wow.
be,
Amazing. And if somebody's on this program that's listening that's not necessarily been identified yet, or may not be identified as having an issue with fertility, but would like to do everything they can in advance of trying to conceive and getting that body into its most fertile, receptive state, do you work with clients just generally? And when would you be an advisable time to start some regular acupuncture before even trying to conceive?
yeah, I would say it takes about 90 days for an egg to be released for
Yes.
ovulation. So you've got
Yeah.
that window, 3 to 4 months to try and get your eggs,
To be as
the
best
best.
quality.
Yeah, the best environment for
Hmm.
them to be released. And also, I'll help you track your basal body temperature, and I'll teach you how to identify your cervical mucus. So it gives you a better idea of when you're actually ovulating. So you're not kind of
You're not
not
in the
sure
dark.
related exactly.
Yeah.
And also tips, for sperm health as well. So just, I mean, the ideal time is to start as soon as you can.
Can. Yes. Yes. It takes time for the body, for the cells, the organs to all
Uh,
kind of, yeah.
better.
And you
Even
touched on there about the sperm as well. Do you work with men?
Yeah, I do work with men. Men are a bit kind of reticent to come forward.
Absolutely.
But it's a bit of a sore point because I find that a lot of women, they go to a clinic for testings. They give the man a very, very basic sperm test.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if they find something wrong with the woman, they just leave the man. Now, there can be an issue with the woman and the man.
Man. Yeah.
Got to
Yeah.
be one or the other. But also the man, they say if it's got 4% morphology, that's fine. Well, to me, that's not fine. That means 96% are not good. And we
Yeah.
want to improve that. We want to find out why. So I might recommend you to have a physical with a fertility urologist who might find something called a varicocele, which can be affecting the sperm, or send you for a DNA fragmentation test, which looks at the actual DNA of the sperm.
Yes. Yeah. So important, isn't it, to
Yeah.
just not necessarily take one person's advice and one person's testing, whatever that may look like, as the final red, diagnosis. But if there are problems, to really make sure that you look wider and further afield. And as you say, I can imagine I've worked with a lot of clients whose partners, male partners, are, my sperm's fine, it's been tested, I don't need to,
Yes.
this has got nothing to do with me, it's your issue, your problem, and it's just such a naive and such an awful approach, because it takes two to tango, and both parts need to be at its absolute optimum.
And even like with secondary infertility, the husband might say, well, I've already had a child with someone else.
Yes. Yeah.
Sperm health can be affected by so many different things.
Yeah.
It could be, I don't know, having the laptop on the knee all the time or taking like steroids at the gym
Yep.
or smoking, drinking,
Yeah, and what just because one year you've been able to impregnate somebody doesn't mean a year, 2 years, 3 years later you still got that same sperm. So, you might be inhaling more chemicals, toxins. You might have
yeah.
started vaping or anything.
Or you play football at the weekend, someone kicks you in the balls with the football,
Yes,
like
yes.
cause
So
damage. It's the
any
same with
any
the
men
women.
listening here or any females listening here and want to pass on some information to the men, it's not all down to you to make sure that your body is in optimum
Yeah,
fertile health.
yeah.
It's really important to encourage your partner, the male partner, that they've got to, make sure that they're looking after and taking the right vitamins and minerals as well as everything else.
Right, yeah. I mean, you know, when the men are, they kind of feel, well, I'm not, they don't have the same, well, this is a bit of a blanket term, I shouldn't say that, but some of them just don't have the same kind of yearning to have
Yeah.
a child a woman might have. And they kind of just leave it for the woman to deal with everything. Oh, you
Mm.
make the appointments, you go to the appointments,
Yeah, it's very
do the
much
sperm
left.
sample, and that's it.
Yes, no, I think it's really important. This is, it's a partnership. You enter it into a partnership, and it's, please God, they fall pregnant. The parenting is a partnership. So actually, beforehand, it needs to be as much. Really
Right.
important. Well,
Yeah.
what are some of the most common fertility challenges you see, and then how do you approach them in treatments?
I think patients that come to me with recurrent failures in
Yeah.
IVF,
Hmm.
um, and that can be due to or current or several miscarriages, and that can just be due to something as simple as, doing a vaginal microbiome test. If your
Yeah.
levels of lactobacillus, that's like the friendly bacteria, are not high enough and they're overtaken by the unfriendly
Yeah.
bacteria, so
Yeah.
cause like
And this is
bacteria
something you
vaginosis.
test. You can
I
test
was
this.
in, I have a company I work with.
Right.
I can get a test sent to you, and then we can go over the results after.
Brilliant.
Uh,
And is it quite a simple, non-invasive test? Is it
yeah,
a
yeah.
fingerprint blood spot test or something like
There's-
that?
no, there's a couple of companies I work with. They're all vaginal swabs.
Right, right. Okay.
Yeah, so there's different ways you can do one that does a full DNA test of the entire microbiome, or
Hmm.
so if someone comes to me, for instance, they say, "Oh, I get a lot of thrush, I get a lot of, UTIs," but that kind of triggers something in my brain that says, "Okay, there's something going on with
Something.
your microbiome."
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
could mean that your uterus, your endometrial lining, is not very habitable. The pH level is not correct, it's not optimum. And that could be as simple as that, or that it's affecting the sperm and entry.
So if they to come back with an issue of that, then is that something? It's not like, oh my God, that's it, you're doomed.
So,
You can then deal with that through acupuncture.
no, 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 not necessarily acupuncture. What I can, well, there is I can support, we call it getting rid of the pathogens with acupuncture. But in addition to that, I would refer you to a GP
Right.
to get the antibiotics for the whatever you've got.
Yep.
And also use some supplements, which the companies I work with will recommend, or I can recommend you to someone who will tell you to balance your microbiome.
Hmm. Brilliant.
Um,
So there is a fix for these listeners that thinking,
yeah,
my God, that might be my area of difficulty, but what do I do about it? It's really important to flag it, get it identified, and then there is a fix
yeah.
to address it.
I mean, not every bacteria will culture on a petri dish.
No.
So you might think, well, I've been to the GP, they did a swab and it was fine, but you're missing some things. And it's also it's all about finding clues. I'm like a fertility detective and finding clues. So you might say to me, oh, every time I brush my teeth, I get like blood coming from my gums. So I'll think, okay, hold on. Could there be, a microbiome imbalancement in your gums? So
Wow.
let's do an oral swab and let's
Okay.
see what's happening, because there are bacteria in the gums that can affect fertility and cause miscarriage as well. It's not
Oh,
just
wow. Gosh,
these
that's so
microbiome can
fascinating.
affect, can cause miscarriages as well.
Wow. Okay, so that's really, so you are the fertility detective actually.
Yes, everything is a clue.
Everything is a clue. So it's really important when I presume they come to see you that you obviously probably have a questionnaire or
Yeah,
an onboarding process that you actually cover and everything, and that your client is open and as honest and very
yeah.
much in tune with what's going on with their body, not just in the reproductive area, but everywhere, literally from the head to the toes.
Yeah, I mean, when I ask my patient, I mean, I ask patients, let me see your tongue,
Yeah.
this is what your stool's like, how often do you go to the toilet? Do you have clots? What the clots like during your period? What's your cervical mucus like? And they say to me, no one's ever asked me any of these questions before.
No,
Because
no.
no one's ever bothered to
You
ask.
you do the dive, you do
Yeah,
the deep dive, don't you? And
yeah,
whereas,
what's going on with your family? What jobs have you done?
mhm,
All these different things, see what chemicals you're in.
yeah, I know chemicals are a huge thing, especially with our the way that we're currently living and everything that we're
Uh,
the sprays and the candles and the air fresheners and the plastics and the food. It's having a huge effect on what we're in. Yeah. Okay. Are there when someone comes to you, how often would you recommend that they see you? Is it once every week, once a month, or does it depend on the client?
Yeah, well, I normally suggest that we cover the 3 to 4 month menstrual cycle. It depends how bad, what the issues are with their menstrual cycle. So I might tell them to come every week.
Every week. Okay.
I mean, I do treat people through IVF as well. So I do the preparation for IVF to make sure the body is ready, to make sure we can get, optimum ovarian response and egg
Mhm.
quality, to reduce any inflammation. And then during the IVF stimulation phase, so I try and do twice a week for that, just to
Right.
encourage blood flow to the uterus, to the ovaries.
Yeah.
And then kind of in between the trigger and the collection, after the collection and after the or before the embryo transfer and after.
Right.
So
So it depends what the client and
yeah,
where the client is on the treatment or the journey, the fertility journey, should I say, and what. So you'll fit them in. And you're based. Where are you based, Ilana?
I'm in Bricket Woods,
Bricket
just
Wood.
yeah, 5 minutes from Radlett. And I also treat pregnant women and pregnancy preparation. So before you're due for labor, I treat, well, first of all, throughout the whole 3 trimesters, I'll treat any
Yes.
issues like nausea, back pain, sciatica, heartburn, anything like that, tiredness. And then I do I treat for induction. So if you don't want to go for medical induction, which obviously can be quite unpleasant, I treat for that a couple of days before you're induced, and also preparation for labor, which starts at
Wow.
36 weeks and it's every week until you deliver.
Oh wow. Okay, so it's totally safe to use throughout all the trimesters. Do you treat anybody if they were going through IVF in the 2 week wait?
Yes, I do.
You
Yeah,
do.
definitely.
Okay, so that's a safe.
Stress levels, it's very stressful. So you're decreasing stress levels.
Amazing. And can it help with possible implantation?
Well, it will get the blood flow to you, and
Yes.
we'll give them tips. Like, for instance, this is quite an interesting one. They did clown therapy in Israel with IVF patients, and those patients that had after their transfer had some clown therapy, and
Right.
people that didn't have clown therapy had more success. So I give tips to my patients, like lifestyle tips, and I might say, I give them a list of my favorite comedies, but they can find their own comedy. And as soon as they come back from the hospital, the clinic after the transfer, watch some comedy,
Yes.
have some laugh.
Have a laugh. Yeah. Get there's happy hormones going into the body, some of that oxytocin as well. It's, flood the body. I always say you have a memory of somewhere that really made you excited or happy. Get that music going, get the laughter, because that's really important. Really
You've got to
important.
picture everything. And
Yeah.
that's why I look at everything as a big picture. And, don't kind of restrict yourself to certain things to look at because that's when you get unexplained infertility
Absolutely.
or miscarriages. You want to know the full picture.
Amazing. Are there any common misconceptions that you'd like to clear up about acupuncture? Or I know apart from the size of the needle and that it's not painful, but which we covered at the beginning. Are there any other common misconceptions you'd like to iron out now when we've got our audience?
Yes, I mean, people think it's not relaxing, but I have patients who say, I mean, I've got a lovely bed. I put my heated blanket on, and I have heat lamps, and I spray lavender on the pillow, and I have relaxing music. And after 5 minutes, I can often hear patients snoring.
Sorry.
So it is, they find it really relaxing. The majority of
Amazing.
them find it really relaxing. People think, oh no. And also the needles, they're not painful. People think, because they're, as I say, they are so fine,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the other thing is, your expectation of acupuncture is you'll come and it'll work immediately. Now, sometimes it does, but it's also like, you go to the doctor, you get a pill. It's not necessarily going to work immediately. You have to give acupuncture, a couple of sessions at least.
Absolutely. As with anything, it takes time for the body to adjust and to accept and to understand what it's going through. Nothing, we can't work quickly and immediately. We're
No.
very much a nation.
Yeah.
We want immediate effects now. If it doesn't work within 24 hours, forget it. But that's not how the body works.
Although sometimes it does. Sometimes you get people that are so responsive to it.
Yeah, yeah,
They
amazing.
come back and say, oh my God, I went to the toilet for the first time in 3 days, or my periods didn't hurt or that my shoulder's not so painful
Mm.
anymore. But give
I've
it
got a question to ask you. I've got a client who I know is adamant they don't want acupuncture for whatever reason, but would you see a client, somebody just to give them that general detective overview, and so you can advise them on certain tests or ask them and use your detective skills, but not necessarily give them the acupuncture at the end?
a good question, because I'm just about to start that as an offer. So you must be reading my mind.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm just about to
okay,
put it up on my website. So I don't want to kind of stop anyone getting this information because it's so important. And, it frustrates me when people come back to me like the next year and say, why didn't I listen to you?
yeah, yeah,
Or, I should have done that then. I'd wasted all this money in IVF. Why didn't I just check? Yeah, you were right. That was the issue. Or, no one's ever told me that. Why has no one ever told me that? So yes, I want to open this up to everyone. You don't need to have acupuncture. You don't want acupuncture. That's fine. We can do. I'm going to offer online fertility assessments.
amazing.
Yeah, so we could do. You don't even need to come here. We can do it online, and I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do, and then I can support you with
Fun.
like weekly sessions. We can kind of see. It doesn't need to be every week, but we can have
No,
sessions and
that's
see what's going
amazing.
on.
So how can my listeners or the listeners here find you if they want to work with you, whether it be advice, online assessments, or come to you or have acupuncture? What's the best way for them to find you now?
Okay, so you could go on to my website, which is www.acupuncture.co.uk. Acupuncture is one C, by the way. Everyone seems to put double C. I don't know. You'll probably put a link to my, yeah.
Yes, there'll be a link in the
So
caption.
And I have an automatic booking system, so you don't even need to speak to me. You can go online, you can book whatever you want, book an initial fertility assessment online. And yeah, and what I ask people to do is to send me all their test results and their correspondence with consultants so I can read it first so I know
Right.
exactly what's
So
going
you
on.
know, right, brilliant. Oh, wow, that's absolutely amazing. That has been an amazing podcast full of really useful information and things that our listeners, I'm sure, will take away, digest, process, and then action. If they're either about to enter a fertility, trying to conceive, or they're on a fertility journey and struggling, you've given some really great nuggets of information there, Lana. Thank you so, so much. Really appreciate you having being here as a
Thanks so
guest.
much for having me. It's been fun.
Oh, thank you. So, to all our listeners, just to sum up now, whether you're just exploring holistic support or looking to deepen your current plan, acupuncture and fertility coaching are a really powerful team. We work, together alongside you. So, you've heard how to contact Ilana, and if you'd like the emotional support, such as what I offer, please also reach out to me at www.fertilityavenue.co.uk or my Instagram fertility.avenue. But until the next episode, really do take care of yourself and gift yourself the much needed love and attention. Have a good week. And thank you again, Ilana, for joining us.
Thank you. Have a lovely weekend,
Thank you.
everyone.
You too.